Dust motes floated in the buttery light that slanted through the front windows of Harbor Street Books, making the narrow aisles glow like some forgotten attic. Clara May, who shelved and dusted and rang up paperbacks 6 days a week, always arrived an hour before opening. She liked the hush before the bell over the door began chiming, liked the way the buildings sighed awake, the gurgle of the ancient radiator, the faint creak of cedar beams, the soft, papery exhalation of 10,000 spines. It was the one place in town where no one expected her to speak first, where she could linger in the comfortable margin between observation and action. On a drizzly Tuesday in early April, Clara knelt beside a banker's box of donated books that Mr. Lowell, the owner, had bought at an estate auction the night before. The cardboard was warped with rainwater. The books inside smelled of cellars and camphor. She pulled out a brittle paperback copy of Walt Whitman and flipped through it, checking for mildew. Halfway through Song of Myself, a faint scrawl in pencil wandered down the margin. "I wish the lilacs would bloom early this year. I'd like to press one here next to Whitman's heart." Clara smiled. Marginalia was the secret conversation of readers across time, and she loved overhearing it. She jotted the penciled line onto a sticky note, more for the pleasure of the words than for any inventory purpose, and continued sorting. 3 mornings later, walking to work past Mrs. Gallagher's yard, she inhaled the damp air and caught the sudden hopeful scent of something green. The thought surfaced. Whole and perfect. "I wish the lilacs would bloom early this year. I'd like to press one in my poetry notebook." She froze mid-stride. The phrase tasted exactly like the penciled sentence in the Whitman. Had she unconsciously absorbed it, or had the note anticipated her? She shook off the shiver crawling her spine and blamed coincidence. But coincidence multiplied. The next box arrived from a retired professor who preferred store credit to cash. Inside a dog-eared copy of the Odyssey, Clara found a neat block of handwriting beside the passage where Odysseus strings his bow. "The trick is not strength, but attunement. Listen to how the wood wants to bend." That evening, Clara struggled with the warped back door that always stuck after rain. She braced her shoulder against the peeling frame, but the more she shoved, the more stubborn it seemed. She caught herself thinking, "The trick is not strength, but attunement. Listen to how the wood wants to bend." Adjusting her grip, she lifted, not pushed, and the door slid free with a sigh. Only after the latch clicked shut did she remember the marginal note and feel the prickle of déjà vu. A pattern declared itself. Every few days a donated book arrived, with pencil scribbles that mirrored thoughts she would not have until later, sometimes hours later, sometimes days. That beetle turned to whip on her. It was until day 1, she thought. The handwriting varied, slanted cursive, block capitals, hurried half-print. The ink changed too, graphite, fountain pen blue, marker mauve. But the voice, calm and intimate, felt constant. Clara began collecting the productive volumes in a private stack beneath the counter, leaving replacement copies on the shelves so Mr. Lowell wouldn't notice. She paged through them before bed, half delighted, half terrified, finding small prophecies tucked beside unrelated paragraphs. They never told futures bigger than a handful of sentences. They never mentioned calamities or lotteries. They simply anticipated her interior monologue with uncanny fidelity. Late one night, she decided to test them. Seated cross-legged on her apartment floor, she closed her eyes and composed a sentence no one else would think. "Sunlight tastes like copper if you hold it on your tongue long enough." She repeated the line silently until it felt welded to her mind. Then she waited. 4 days passed. Saturday morning arrived with gull shrieks and a rake of silver across the harbor. Harbor Street Books hummed with leisure browsers. A woman exchanged a bulging canvas bag of mysteries and diet cookbooks for $10 store credit. Clara lugged them to the sorting table. Near the bottom, she found a 1970s edition of Ray Bradbury stories. When she opened All Summer in a Day, a pencil note bobbed in the margin like a buoy. "Sunlight tastes like copper if you hold it on your tongue long enough." The room telescoped, sound falling away as if she ducked under water. When she could breathe again, she slipped the Bradbury beneath the counter, fingers tingling. She could no longer pretend she was misremembering. Something or someone was writing to her across time. The logical conclusion was creepy. A stalker who knew her private habits, timing book donations to mess with her head. Yet the handwriting shifted too often, and the donations came from different people. Estate sales, college kids cleaning dorms, tourists, even the library's annual purge. No single donor could orchestrate them all. Still, fear slithered under her ribs and coiled tight. She started double-locking her apartment door, checking behind parked cars, avoiding eye contact on the sidewalk. The marginalia, once comforting, now hummed like a live wire. Sam Weaver noticed. Sam was a lanky architectural engineering student who haunted the shop on weekday afternoons, sketchbook tucked beneath his arm, smelling of graphite and cold air. He and Clara shared long silences, trading recommendations through post-it notes rather than conversation. One windy Monday he leaned on the counter, tapping his pencil. "You okay?" he asked finally. "You look like someone replaced your coffee with salt water." Clara startled. Few people addressed her directly, fewer still used metaphors she liked. The impulse to confide rose, hesitated, then spilled. She told him, not everything, but enough. The notes, the predictions, the copper-tasting sunlight. She expected skepticism. Instead, Sam's hazel eyes widened with a child's delight. If it's real, that's beautiful," he said. A conversation bent through time like light through a prism. "Or a psychotic break," Clara muttered. "What if it isn't?" He flipped to a blank page in his sketchbook and wrote, deliberately, "I will dream of a city built of unbroken mirrors." He tore out the sheet and handed it to her. "Think of this sentence every morning and night. Let's see if it shows up." The experiment terrified her, but she agreed. For 5 days the mirror city echoed in her head. On the 6th, a tattered hardcover of Italo Calvino's Invisible Cities landed in a donation pile from a family who'd just cleaned out their grandmother's attic. Beside the description of Zobaida City formed from men's shared dreams, someone had penciled, "I will dream of a city built of unbroken mirrors." Sam whistled low when she showed him. "That settles the stalker theory. No way Grandma Becker timed that." He examined the penciling, photographing it with his phone, measuring letter heights with his architect's ruler. "Different hand from the earlier samples," he murmured, "but the graphite leads are identical hardness, almost like the same pencil wrote through several disguises." Clara's stomach fluttered. "So who is it?" "Maybe who isn't the right question," Sam said, eyes bright. "Maybe it's when." She laughed, a brittle sound. "Are you suggesting time travel?" "I'm suggesting we don't rule it out. Books move through decades. Margins are little chronologies. Why can't messages move too?" Ridiculous as it sounded, the idea seemed less impossible than any earthly explanation. She felt the ground tilt under the bookstore's oak planks, as though the aisles themselves were sliding between eras. The following week, the marginalia changed tone. Instead of echoing her thoughts, it nudged her. In Austen's Persuasion, "Speak the thing rattling in your chest. Silence is only postponed courage." In a gardening guide, "Plant your questions. Watch them germinate into doorways." And in a slim volume of Rilke, "You are allowed to terrify yourself with possibility. Just don't freeze." These sentences didn't foretell her private musings. They addressed her directly, urging action. Action toward what? The question kept her awake, heart hammering so loudly she couldn't hear the rainfall outside. On the first true spring morning, a donated field journal appeared stamped Levy Park, Nature Center on its ragged cover. Every page was blank except the first, centered in neat mechanical pencil. "Clara May. If you want the whole story, bring this notebook to the ginkgo bench in Levy Park at dusk on Thursday. Come alone. You know how to listen. Her name, no mistake." The world contracted to the size of that line. Sam offered to come. She almost said yes, but the instruction felt sacred, and anyhow the note had been right. She did know how to listen. Books had taught her. Thursday evening she closed the shop, pocketed the journal, and walked the riverside trail toward Levy Park. Dusk painted the water violet. Clouds bruised overhead. She reached the ginkgo bench as the first street light flickered on. The bench was empty except for a dog-eared copy of Emily Dickinson's poems lying face down. Clara picked it up. A lavender envelope protruded from between pages 492 and 493. Her name again, in a hand so familiar her knees weakened. It was her own handwriting. She opened the envelope with numb fingers. Inside, a letter dated 5 years in the future. Dear younger me, I know you doubt, so I've enclosed proof. The scar on the inside of our right wrist, earned August 2 years from now while repairing the store ladder, and the pet name Sam hasn't yet invented for you, Paper Heart. Ask him when you get home. Yes, the notes were from me, from us. I found a way to fold Time's ribbon and write in the margins. The technique doesn't matter yet. What matters is that the words reached you, that they stirred you awake, that you walked here tonight. You are still shy 5 years hence, but no longer frightened of your voice. You'll study archival preservation, travel with Sam to libraries that smell of deserts and salt. You'll learn to script your own marginalia instead of quoting everyone else's. But first you must do one thing: decide the story is real. Reality is pliable. Belief is the pressure that reshapes it. If you decide the notes are coincidence, the ribbon will snap back and the conversation ends. If you decide otherwise, come to the train station tomorrow morning with the field journal. Platform 2, 7:15. Bring Sam if you'd like. We'll write the next chapter together. With faith already proved, Clara, age 31. P.S. Remember to water the jade plant. It survives the move only if you do. Clara read the letter twice, 3 times. Her own loops and hooks of script, unmistakable. The taste in her mouth was iron and honey all at once. On the walk home she rehearsed rational explanations, forgery, hallucination, parallel universe prank, but each felt thinner than gossamer. She unlocked her apartment, fed the jade plant an apologetic drink, and called Sam. "What's up?" he asked through speaker crackle. She took a breath. "Do you ever call me Paper Heart?" Silence, then a low laugh, embarrassed. In my head sometimes." "I didn't think you'd want to hear it aloud." Her pulse thudded. "Say it." "Okay, you win, Paper Heart." Belief, the letter said, reshaped reality. Clara felt the shape forming. She hardly slept. At dawn she packed the field journal, the Dickinson volume, and a thermos of coffee. She paused at the bookstore long enough to leave Mr. Lowell a note. Family matter. Back soon. At 7:07, she met Sam beneath the arched stone entrance of the train station. He carried his ever-present sketchbook and a puzzled grin. "If this ends with us stranded in Akron, I'm blaming time-traveling you," he said. "Fair," she replied, and led him to platform 2. A silver commuter train idled, doors open, morning steam curling. No conductor in sight, no other passengers. On a bench lay a wooden box sealed with crimson wax. Impressed in the wax was a small ginkgo leaf. Hands trembling, Clara broke the seal. Inside, 20 pencils sharpened to identical points and a note. "Start writing." Sam peered over her shoulder. "What should we write?" "Whatever comes next," she whispered. She opened the field journal to its second page and wrote, "We board the train and find a carriage full of blank books asking to be filled." Sam added, in quick architectural capitals, "Beyond the window, the city rearranges itself into possibilities we have not yet named." Clara capped the pen, heart galloping. The letters glowed faintly, the graphite glimmering as if catching morning sun. Outside, the river valley and its red brick warehouses blurred, bending like hot air over asphalt. The train whistle keened, not loud, but intimate. A note plucked inside her chest. She felt time ripple, smelled lilacs blooming, though April was still young. She had shelved thousands of stories. She had stepped into none of them until now. Margins had guided her here, but the pages ahead were blank, waiting for her handwriting. For the first time, she understood that shyness was not the absence of voice. It was the space before speaking, the hush where possibility gathered. She squeezed Sam's hand. "Ready?" He nodded, eyes bright as fresh ink. Together they stepped onto the train. The doors hissed shut behind them with the soft authority of turning pages, and the future began to write itself in the margins of their footsteps.